breaks down a lot of probably the pathway that we've gone on as a school. So everything Tanya has spoken about is what we have done at our school in terms of teaching kids to read, teaching kids to be numerate. And so I'm Charlotte, I'm from Victoria. I'm in a little regional school, 1 hour from Geelong, out 1 hour from the Great Ocean Road, 1 hour from Ballarat, 1 hour from Warrnambool. We are an industrial town. I am from a specialist school and my background has been specialist education since I started as an education support in 2008. I am autistic and I found out when I was 28. So I speak about this from a personal level as well as what we need to do better for our students who are autistic, ADHD and have intellectual disabilities. Our school has about 92 students currently. We have grown 30 students in the last 3 years, which is huge resource-wise for our little school. We recently moved to a new school site at the start of last year, and we've been on this structured literacy journey from, I started looking into it in 2020, and how do we improve our students. This is all based on research and the evidence. I'm doing my Masters by Research with the Solar Lab, so Tanya Seary is actually one of my supervisors. And I have Pam Snow as my other supervisor, and then I have Anne Southall, who is my other supervisor, who is a trauma expert in the space. I also have a complex trauma background, so all of this stuff is very, very close to me, very, very dear to me. My son has dyslexia, has had learning difficulties. He's medically breaks a lot of bones because of a genetic thing. So you talk about all the complexities. I've probably had them, dealt with them, experienced them as a parent, or and everything else. So I will start. Our school has all of our students have an intellectual disability, so an IQ of less than 70. We do have a few non-standard enrolments, and that's because they have, just like it's not just the number. The number isn't important, but they might have language difficulties that are around the 70 mark of their language score, or they might have, level 3 autism and things like that. So we have a lot of different children, lots of different disabilities, and I'm kind of now promoting this. So this is maybe confronting for some, but this is the way we have done it. And hopefully this works, and this was working before. Oh, yep. All right, so well-being. What is well-being? So this is the WHO definition, because I didn't go into the research. I just pulled it off the WHO, and I figure they probably have the best. Wellbeing is a positive state experienced by individuals and societies. Similar to health, it is a resource for daily life and is determined by social, economic and environmental conditions. Wellbeing encompasses quality of life and the ability of people and societies to contribute to the world with a sense of meaning and purpose. Focusing on wellbeing supports the tracking of the equitable distribution of resources, overall thriving and sustainability. And I would say that's a societal model. And a society's wellbeing can be determined by the extent to which it is resilient, builds capacity for action and is prepared to transcend challenges. That is the definition of what wellbeing means as a society, as a whole, but also how our students fit into this space. So what are the precursors? Quality of life, that you contribute to the world in some sense. You have a sense of purpose and a sense of drive. And I would say that you contribute to society, or that you are part of society. And that affects your well-being as an adult, as a child. What we know is that adults with intellectual disabilities have smaller social networks that are limited to carers, day programs, supported employment, other adults with intellectual disabilities. We know that learning to read and write, even at a minimal level, is a critical skill to help people with cognitive disabilities to access their community, broaden their independence in the community, and to achieve success in the workplace. students with intellectual disabilities leave school with limited reading ability. So this is not just about our little students and our one student, or maybe my 90 students. This is about society. This is a bigger push to get a better, we need to develop our students so then they can contribute, so then we have a better society as well. And I talk about, we are not doing well unless we are doing the best for the most vulnerable students. Our students in Victoria, in special schools, tend not to get counted in NAPLAN results. So our data sets aren't contributing to the national data sets. Most students with intellectual disabilities don't do NAPLAN, they don't do PISA. So in terms of their acknowledgement in the education space, they're not. Because they're not accessing the measures that we are rating schools against. Our school is not counted in data sets. So we have 90 students who, because of those types of assessments, are never counted. So I talk for those kids that aren't counted when we rate schools against each other. This is our employment rates for adults with intellectual disabilities. So a variance of 37% to 70%, and it's mainly part-time work. Now we're in a cost of living crisis across Australia. How do we expect our students and our adults with disabilities to actually have a living? A lot, if they're in supported employment, don't get the full wage. So we've got a massive crisis that people aren't talking about, because it's a crisis for the kids that don't really have a voice, and now we're having adults that don't have that voice. For autism, this was from Amaze. So this is obviously 2019 data, the other is 2019 data. Unemployment rate for autistic people is 6 times higher. And this is the whole gamut of autistic people. 45% have been in their current roles for 5 years or more. So we want retaining, we want people to stay in jobs. More than half of unemployed autistic people who had previously held a job have been out of employment for 3 or more years. And of those employed less than full time, more than half would like to be working more hours than they currently do. So we have people out there who want to work, that want more money, because we need that to survive, to live a good life. And as a society, we're probably not doing well for them. So does this well-being, can it improve learning and engagement? So I just want you to have like a quick maybe 30 seconds with the person next to you and discuss this. Does this work? Does well-being work for our students with disabilities? All right, I'm going to wrap that up. So who would say that we need to do wellbeing first before we do learning and teaching? Absolutely. Can I have a show of hands? All right, I'm going to bust your little brains. Not little brains, but, because it's not. This is what we do when we focus on wellbeing in schools for our students. We expect our students to improve by focusing on wellbeing. But we've put all this wellbeing into you. Why aren't you improving? But we're doing this wellbeing support. Why aren't we getting outcomes? And it's actually the reverse. And that's what we've proved as a school, is once we do the learning and the teaching well, our wellbeing has improved for our students. And I'll show you how. This is what I say. This is like Anita Archer has the quote. I've just modified Anita Archer's quote. But I say this, that when we just focus on wellbeing for our students, we can't. It's a Tier 1 instructional program. I work across schools as an inclusion outreach coach as well as my school, and I work with mainstream schools. And when I go into mainstream schools, the first thing I do is put structures and routines in place. I put in Tier 1 instructional practices in place, and then I see all the students start to improve. And so when we're talking about what has the most impact on our students, it's actually our teaching and learning. Because should we expect students to feel good about themselves if they are not literate and numerate? Because I'm at uni, I'm fine. I mean, I struggle sometimes at uni, but you know, I'm at uni, you guys have all gone through uni, you've survived education. If you go to the supermarket, you know how to read labels. When you go to the airport, you know where to go. I had to come fly here. When you go on the bus, you need to read a timetable. When you go on the roads, you need to read the signs, you need to drive, you need to know the rules. How do our students do all that without being literate and numerate? And so their worlds become very, very small, and they rely on other adults to do everything for them because they are not literate and numerate. I talk about if we went to another country and it was, like Tanya showed, Latin. So we know that alphabet, the Latin alphabet, we couldn't read it. We could probably pick out some words. And imagine if you went to a country where they were speaking English and then you looked and you couldn't read it, because that's what our students have every day when they can't read. They look around, they know what people are saying, they understand all of that. You can read a book to them, they understand it, and then when they look at it, they don't know what it is. And then we expect to put wellbeing measures in place to improve our students. When internally, when they're watching all the rest of their peers learn and all the rest of their peers, you know, reading, writing, and then they can't, we can't well-being them out. We can't make them feel good about themselves because they go home and they know they're not. They know they're not achieving. And so that's that message, is to flip it. You know, we put the input into the reading and writing because they can, and there's only a very small percentage of students that can't access some sort of reading. And we've seen some of our students who may not progress very far in reading, but we have students who are like, we do Little Learners Love Literacy. They're still in the stage 1 in the spelling, but their mum said to me, he's going to the supermarket and he's trying to read labels. And he's so proud of himself. You know, and he's like, I was watching him and I was sitting in our front office and they were waiting for our parent-teacher interviews, and he was pointing out all the sounds he knew and he was trying to put them together, and he was so proud of himself. And he may never get to grade 3 standard. He may never get to grade 4 standard, but he feels good because he can do a little bit. And that's what we need to also have a conversation about, is our measures of what we say is really good is not necessarily the measures that the kids want. The kids just want to feel like they can. So praise can be done well, but praise in measures where we have low expectations probably don't do well. And we want genuine praise for our students when they're achieving at their best. Like they have really pushed themselves, because they know when they've pushed themselves and they know when they've given you crappy work. And if you praise crappy work because you're excited about it and they've given that to you, they're like, oh, they don't care. I can hand in anything. So we want those high expectations for our students as well. Raffle tickets don't change behaviour. Because this is what happens when the kids get lots of them. Look how many I've got. I've seen raffle tickets in schools become like money, And kids would like hand over raffle tickets for snacks that they wanted from other people's lunchboxes. Like they manufactured this commodity of using raffle tickets to go, instead of going and buying whatever was in that store, they're like, I'd rather have that. So they'd save up and then they'd do the raffle ticket swap with their peers. So the whole concept of using raffle tickets was completely gone in that school. Handing out points because they sit in a chair. We don't reward sitting in chair for points because we're like, you're meant to sit in the chair. So we're not giving you a point, and we're not giving you our little token system for sitting in a chair. Rewarding for this is so subjective for our students with disabilities. So subjective, because one teacher might accept it and then another teacher doesn't. And they're like, well, I did it right here, why don't I get that here? And then they kick off and they get really upset because what happened here didn't happen there. Because some of our students are quite literal. This is the rule. I've learnt the rule. I am doing the rule. And now you're not rewarding the rule. And they're like, you know, they get cranky and really, really, really cross. And this, you know, giving a, like, the kids just go, oh yeah, we've got so many points. They're just, yep. They become nothing. So at our school, we have our school values, we have positivity, respect and teamwork. We have these little laminated PTRs. When our students show any of our school values, we give that to them. That card goes in, we have a visual, like a board, and it has our house groups on it. And then the student puts that token into their house group. The house that wins gets hot chips with the principal at the end of the term. They love it. Hot chips, they all go in their house meeting and they get to sit with the principal, and then the teachers that are in that house group go and then they eat hot chips for lunch. And that's our collective system, so everyone's contributing. And we found that collective system actually works a lot better than individual points. And we don't, once the point's up, the student knows that they contributed, but we're not advertising whether they've contributed or not. So it just becomes, and we count up the points every assembly. One of our senior students goes around and they count up the points for the different house groups. This is that. So I gave it a tick. Praise, great, fantastic, excellence normally means nothing. When people have said, that's really great, Charlotte, I'm like, oh, what? That's the initial thing I have in my head is like, what? What was great? Please don't tell me that I'm great. I don't know what that means. I'm autistic. Like, can mean anything. Like, I look great today. I said one word that was great. You know, it's really hard when you don't know social stuff. You actually can't interpret it because your brain's not actually wired that way. So we do this. I like the way you, and be specific. I like the way you really wrote that letter. That was fantastic. You need to do that again. Thank you for helping that student. Thank you for pushing your chair in. You should be proud of yourself for. I always say that because it's not about me being proud of them. I am proud of them. And that was great because that, like, you know, explaining it out. How? And how have we, I'm saving all my data to the end, by the way. So I'm talking really generally. Routines. Routines are the most important thing that anyone, any classroom, any teacher, any principal, any leader in a school can do across the school. They have to be across the school. It reduces so much anxiety for students to know when they walk into a classroom that they're going to have the same thing all the time. Daily schedules. We have whole class schedules. We don't really have many daily schedules for our students, even though all of our students, you know, in a traditionally would be wanting one. We don't. Because daily schedules They're not for the kids. They're for the adults to manage. So when kids don't follow a daily schedule, I'm like, well, did you follow the daily schedule? Because kids don't have the executive functioning. This is every child. You know, your frontal lobe isn't really developed until you're 25. For kids that are neurodivergent, they're saying 30. So adults, 30 is when it kicks in. I'm telling you, that's when I probably, at 30 is when my life started to actually make sense. And we're expecting kids without a lot of cognitive function going on, because their brains are still developing, to manage a daily schedule amidst the chaos of school. And even if you have really structured things going on like we do, it is still hard for kids. When you've got lots of voices, lots of people, who are you going to play with? Who's going to talk to you? Who's not going to talk to you? And we're talking also about typical developing kids who have their little arguments, and then they don't have arguments, and then they're friends, and then they're not friends, and then this person took this toy, and you know, there's a lot going on for all kids every day at school. And so the routines are for the adults, and the structures are for the adults to do. And once the adult does it, then the kids can do it. But we can't expect kids to manage themselves. And it's probably not what people talk about a lot, but that's how the brain develops. So sometimes we expect kids to be little adults because we're adults, but we forget that they're kids. So they need to be clear, they need to be planned, and they need to be for the whole class. And they need to be taught. We have Learning to Learn Week at the start of every year. We walk the kids through the school, even though they've all been at the school. We talk about all the rules, we talk about all the expectations, and we walk them through. We do Learning to Learn, we get to know you activities, and that's for a whole week where we're just reinforcing all the expectations. And then we start teaching. And routines are for all of this. If you give me something, I could probably put it in a routine, because I've been doing this for so long. But this is like massive. You know, for some kids, they just need routines everywhere. Their whole day just needs to be routined. And these school structures help everyone, including the adults. So when we moved to our new school, this is what our principal put out, which is routes. So if you're going to cooking, you had to follow the green line. If you had to, they weren't marked. It's just the teachers. This wasn't for the kids. This was for the teachers. So so this is the way, the path you walk. This is how we walk. We walk the kids in lines. And they're okay. You know, kids with disabilities can walk in lines, and they're okay. They're not stressed out about it. And this is what our schedules look across the school. So every classroom has that. We don't get our teachers with Instagram classrooms and pretty classrooms and wanting their own things. They get given board maker symbols, and then we have this that looks the same in every room. It's handy for me when I'm chasing down classrooms, because I don't know where they are because I haven't memorised the whole daily timetable. And kids, when they're doing lunch order collection or they know where kids are. We know where things are. And then this is like what a daily schedule would look like. So they're visuals across the school, the whole school. And then we have our walkthroughs, instructional playbooks. So we do mini whiteboards with our kids, chin it. We do all of that. We have hands up rules, say it again better rules. And so this is, our instructional practice that we've been able to do with kids with disabilities. We have teaching and school norms, what classrooms are meant to look like. It is full on for some people, but once you're in it, lots of teachers like us because they know what they're doing as well. Like they're actually structured and they know what they're doing every day. And then we have, teaching materials, and we don't use cursive, we only use print. So that's the print. We have some routines, what happens in the morning, because we teach phonics Monday to Thursday, 9:15 to 10 a.m. So they come into their home group, they do a little activity, and then they get split up for phonics. That we stream them for phonics. And they just walk around the school and go to the classroom that they need to go to. Most kids will walk around without adults following them now. Even our preppies will move in between the building without adults. And then we have teaching expectations, education support. We have 52 staff. So we might be low on numbers, but we have 52 staff. Yeah. No allied health, because we can't get any because we're in rural, regional areas, and NDIS sucked them all up. So we have 52 staff, 1 teacher and 2 aides in every classroom. We start at 5-year-olds. They start about 5 or 6 in the class, and they're like preppy, so they're little. They're busy little characters. And then we go up to like 13, 14 in our seniors with 2 staff. Swimming, we run swimming. So our students go to the pool every week. They go to the pool. Our little juniors, they go on the bus to the pool every week and do lessons. We fit all that in. We have a reading guarantee, and then we have multi-tiered systems of support. So this is all the stuff that we've developed. And we have this: seating plans in rows, reduce transitions, stick to classroom norms and practice routines. Our whole school is built off explicit instruction for the whole. If students need regulation, they go in and out. Then they might go in and out with an aide. But the rest of the time, it's full class teaching. From prep. We have prep sitting on the floor really early on and sitting at tables. If you ever want to come visit, contact me, and we have people visiting all the time, because until you see it in action, you don't believe that I'm actually telling you what's going on.
By reduce transitions, do you mean like, don't come to the carpet for this instruction, then go back to your desk and then go and get a book because it causes disruption?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
And success lists intrinsic motivation. And scaffolding is key, not differentiation. So we pitch high for our students. So if we have students, because we use a Victorian curriculum, and we go past foundation down. So we go from level A, B, C, D, and then we hit foundation. If we have students who are sitting in level B and sort of sitting in level 2, we do level 2. And then we scaffold the rest up. So we meet them at their needs, but we always go high, the highest and above. And then our students are actually more engaged and have been way more engaged by doing that than pitching to level. And we don't do separate activities. Most of the differentiation happens at the end of the whole lesson. So this is like me. I love curriculum. Mentor text planning, the way we even scaffold across the school of how we teach different concepts to get them reading. This wouldn't be what you would do in primary schools or mainstream schools, but in a special school, this is how we're scaffolding up that knowledge and how we build the knowledge over time. This was my maths scaffolding across the school. So we start a lot in that numbers. These are pre-type skills, and then we move and we build knowledge. And then, we pitch high and bring everyone up. And not they can't, but how. And that's what we always think about. Not that they can't do it, but how do we get them there? This is our phonics program. So mini whiteboards, visuals, we use visuals. So they're making the words with the sounds, and then they're writing. And if a student can hold a texter, we get them writing. It's only complex disability students that we wouldn't get them writing, but if a student can grasp, we start them writing. And our handwriting, some of the teachers from mainstream schools come in and tell us that our students' handwriting is better than some of the students they have in their classroom. And this slide always, I don't know why it does this, but it always stuffs up. Time, practice, repetition. So our students need a lot of repetition and a lot of time and a lot of practice. Some of our students are sitting on like 2,000 repetitions for certain things, but they're still making incremental growth, so we still keep going. And it's a lot of repetition. And for some students, we have, overnight they get it. After a week they get it, after a month, after a year, and then sometimes we actually don't see their development until they leave us. We don't see everything that we've put in until they leave us, and we see them working out in the community. They've gone and got their driver's license, they're living independently. And we've had students with an IQ, maybe 60 living independently, 60 and below living independently with no supports. And we also acknowledge that for some kids, they will always need support. And that's okay, because they do have a disability. And we can support them in any classroom if we're giving them the stuff that everybody else is giving them, and we might just tweak it a little bit. And they're still successful. because successful is what they feel. And if they feel that they're successful, then that's the measure. This is my research. Teachers' attitudes and beliefs of students are probably one of the most influential factors for students with disabilities on what we believe they can do. And when we say they can't, then they can't. When we say, hang on, we'll see how far they go, then they go as far as they can. And that's what we promote. And I'll have a paper out around this because I just did a survey for my part of my master's. And this is what 2012 was still doing functional life skills over literacy. I know that that's still happening in some schools as well. Let's just teach them how to cook. We do that. Let's teach them woodwork. We do that as well. Let's teach them to swim. We do that. We teach history. We teach science. We teach PE. We teach health. We teach the whole curriculum now. And we're scaffolding it so it's more age appropriate as well. So we're not keeping kids down. Who knows Dibbles? So Dibbles is a screener. After 3 years of phonics, I finally felt okay enough to give kids the Dibbles test because you need to embed it properly. And so these are the students who are non-speaking, so we can't test them using a speaking assessment. It's not fair. Or they don't have enough speaking fluency to be able to use the Dibbles test, so we haven't. These are the students that we tested that weren't at foundation. These are students at foundation, level 1, level 2, level 3, and now we have level 4, reading, comprehension at level 4. This was before we did structured literacy. That's 5 years in. These are our Victorian curriculum levels, level A, level B, level C, level D, level F. A, B, C, D, F, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's from routines, structures, supports, scaffolding, aiming high, and teaching explicitly. And not, we teach so explicitly that there's little room for failure, so then the students feel good about themselves. And that's what we've done in 5 years. Picked up 30 kids along the way and have had to train probably 8 to 10 teachers into this model to be able to get these results. So all of these students have an intellectual disability. And my question is, if we can do this, others can do this better for their students that don't have disabilities. And for me, there's no excuse, because we've proved that structured teaching, structured literacy, structured maths and explicit teaching works. And if we can improve the lives of our students that are most vulnerable, then, hopefully this will work, we get to do these things. These are our kids. That's 10 metres off the ground. She's about this big. We have students in our seniors that are, like, they make coffees for the whole school. All of our teachers, all of our staff, we pay them to make it. They make slices, so they can go out and work in a cafe because they know all the types of coffees you could ever have. They do all of our grounds and maintenance. So they do all of our mowing, all of our grounds are beautiful because our students do it as part of their businesses. This boy here has cerebral palsy. We took him on a 106k bike ride for a camp. This is us at the snow this year. I took 6 kids, taught them how to ski. We went skiing. That's abseiling at the Grampians. Another adventure camp. I love the outdoors, so this is my other passion, and this is another factor of well-being. Wilson's Prom, after, I think that was maybe a 10k hike, sitting on the rock. Grampians Pinnacle Walk, that was a 13k day. Surfing, we started surfing, and one of our Apollo Bay Secondary College, Peter 12, they've partnered with us, so they're helping to support our kids to access the water activities. So we've got kids surfing, kayaking, and this was our grade 3 and 4-year-olds on an outdoor ed camp. 3 nights, 2 days. That was the whole class. Our kids feel good about themselves. And that's how. And I mean, I can talk forever about all the intricacies of reading, all the intricacies of how we did maths and everything. I don't have time, but this is what we have. And we're not excluding kids on these camps. That's camp we take all kids, and we take all kids. And then my other camps like skiing and all of that, we take select kids that parents can afford. And our parent population are in the lower 2 bands. 92% of our families are in the lower 2 bands of socioeconomic. So we're a very disadvantaged population of students as well. So I hope that, you know, we think higher, we think better, and we want to push our kids. And I hope that that's what you take away from this. And if you ever want anything, let me know. If you want to come visit, and follow me on LinkedIn, and you can email me, and I'm happy to chat. But thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You're the one person I wanted to listen to today. That's why I sat there.
Yeah.
I didn't check any.